Over the course of this movie, I want to tell you exactly how to come up with amazing, profitable ideas for digital products. Ideas that can get you over any kind of idea block that you might be having. But to get into that, I need to tell you about Newton and gravity. Have you ever heard the tale of how universal gravity was first discovered? I bet you have. A young Isaac Newton was relaxing under an apple tree, deep in thought about the mysteries of the universe. All of a sudden, an apple falls on his head, and that inspires him to discover gravity. It was like a eureka moment that revealed to Newton the same force pulling the apple towards the Earth also kept the moon in orbit and the Earth in its trajectory around the sun. Only one problem: none of that's really true. Here's the real story. Isaac Newton enrolled at Cambridge University in 1661, but had to return to his childhood home, Woolsthorpe Manor, in 1665 because a bubonic plague outbreak caused the school to temporarily close. Anyways, while he was back home, he saw an apple fall from a tree in the orchard. This observation led Newton to contemplate why apples always fall straight to the ground. He thought, why don't they fall up or sideways? It was that idea that eventually inspired him to develop his law of universal gravitation. And that's how we start this movie. Myth busting. Ha ha ha. But seriously, whether we are talking about the myth or the reality, both of those stories have Isaac Newton being inspired by something outside the box and coming to one of the most important discoveries of all time. But what if you could recreate those kinds of moments? What if you had some tools at your disposal to come up with amazing ideas almost on command? Would that be helpful to you? If so, then you are really going to enjoy the next several emails because we are going to be revealing 15 very unique and interesting ways to come up with ideas. Ideas for digital products, yes, that is our focus. But don't doubt that these ideas could be used for other things, free content and otherwise. Blog posts, YouTube videos, podcasts. When you have the veritable idea generator at your disposal, nothing is off the table. So, with that being said, I want you to watch until the end of this movie. Watch it over and over again, all the way through, and get ready to learn some things. Next, we are diving headlong into the subject of how to come up with ideas when you have no idea. Keep watching. Now, I want to give you a simple method for tricking AI into becoming an attention sucking edgelord. Here's the thing. AI is useful for many things, but in the world of creating written content, it can be pretty derivative and pretty boring. You can't really trust it to come up with anything new. These LLMs have been trained on a bunch of data, and that data is what they know. They don't have any original thoughts organically. In fact, these things aren't really thinking at all. They are predictors. When you say something or ask it something, it's actually just predicting what the right thing to say back to you should be. down to the word based on its data set. Now, anyone who has written online to create impact or get results knows that isn't going to work when you are trying to persuade people to do something. You have to find a way to create impact, and that runs through the world of emotion, not cold hard logic. So how can you hack AI to be more captivating? How do you fool it into saying something original? Well, one way to do is to do something I like to call the reverse, affectionately named after an American football play. With the reverse, what you want to do is force the AI to give you ideas that it doesn't think are going to be helpful. And when it does, sure, you are going to get some garbage. But you are also going to get a few polarizing ideas that you might have something to say about. Let me give you an example here. When I ask ChatGPT to give me a few ideas for a course about list building, it gives me the following. 1. Foundations of list building. Cover the basics of why building an email list is important and how to set goals for your list, and the fundamental strategies for list building. 2. Opt-in strategies that convert. Focus on different opt-in strategies such as lead magnets, content upgrades, quizzes, and giveaways, and how to create them effectively to maximize conversions. 3. Segmenting and personalization. Teach the importance of segmenting your email list based on user behavior or demographics, and how to personalize emails for better engagement. 4. Email automation. Dive into the world of email automation, including setting up automated email sequences, creating evergreen campaigns, and using automation to nurture leads. 5. List building with social media. Explore how to use social media platforms to grow your email list, including strategies for leveraging different platforms effectively. All very useful topics, reasonable passing the eyeball test, and all done before, all boring, all vanilla, nothing piquing the interest of anyone mildly looking for something new to buy. Not good. However, when I ask ChatGPT to give me a few ideas that are the opposite of helpful for a course about list building, it comes up with the following gems. Ignoring your audience. Teach students to completely ignore their audience's preferences, needs, and behaviors when creating their email list and email marketing strategies. Inconsistent communication. Advise students to communicate with their email list inconsistently, such as sending emails too frequently or too infrequently, without any regard for engagement. Overlooking opt-in forms. Suggests that students avoid using opt-in forms altogether or use poorly designed and unclear opt-in forms that discourage visitors from subscribing. Neglecting segmentation. Discouraged students from segmenting their email list based on user behavior or demographics, and instead recommending the same generic emails to everyone. Now, if I put out a product that has a chapter on how to make loads of money by practically ignoring your audience, that is captivating. It is contrarian. People are going to wonder how that would even be possible. So already these results are serving us better. In that particular example, I could then proceed to talk about the value of not being too accessible to your audience. Access to you should be measured and given out as a privilege. to higher paying customers. This is a proven method that has worked for many people over the years, but it started with a contrarian idea that we got from ChatGPT when we forced it to think differently. It can be done for those other ones as well. The concept of inconsistent communications can teach about sending your emails out at different times of the day so as to keep people guessing when they will receive new communication from you and thereby keep it exciting. There are a few ways you could go with it, but me personally, I wouldn't use this one because I believe in staying consistent with your email and messaging. However, ChatGPT's suggestion will get you thinking in this case. Asking the question, when would I not use consistent communication? Overlooking opt-in forms could be a lesson about focusing on other very successful ways of list building that have nothing to do with opt-in forms, and how maybe they are slightly overrated. Not to say you shouldn't use them, but just to say that you shouldn't overlook other means of list building. But the idea of overlooking them is contrarian. So if you have something to say about that, then you know that you have something that will interest people. Neglecting segmentation for me would become when to completely ignore segmentation because it's not even helping you. It's the opposite of what most people have been told. However, you can make a case for not bothering with segmentation when everybody on your list cares about the same general subject and when your list isn't that big to begin with. So as we can see here, using the reverse method with ChatGPT has been way more helpful for coming up with interesting ideas that will actually get people's attention versus the standard ChatGPT drivel that will only put people to sleep. I use ChatGPT as an example here, but obviously you can use whatever LLM you like. That's all for this lesson. Keep watching for another banger and try this one out. How to build an attention engine. I once knew a guy on the Medium platform who used this trick in almost every single post to get tons of attention. Are you familiar with Medium? It's basically a blogging platform where people can essentially get paid for writing articles. The more people read their work, the more money they make generally. Anyway, here is the simple strategy that this guy used to produce practically viral articles regularly, producing tons of engagement for him and essentially building a veritable attention engine. It's actually really simple. Here's what he would do. First, take a known fact or idea in his niche. Second, ask himself when that would not be the right thing to do. Third, tell that story and title article appropriately. Let me give you an example here because I know that might sound a little weird. In the weight loss niche, it is pretty well known fact that if you want to lose weight, you would eat less and exercise more. So what you would do is ask yourself the question, when would I not want to eat less to lose weight? Or when would I not want to exercise more to lose weight? In this example, you could say that you don't want to eat less to lose weight because drastically reducing your caloric intake can slow down your metabolism and make it harder to lose weight in the long term. So that's our point. Extreme reduction of eating can actually slow down your metabolism and mess up your weight loss goals long term. Better to make small changes and work on eating a balanced, healthy diet. And that title, though, would look something like this: Why Eating Less to Lose Weight Could Very Likely Be a Horrible Idea. You can recreate this kind of content in any niche. It also starts with taking known ideas and asking yourself when they would not apply. Another example: here's why you shouldn't be building an email list. That title goes against what we have been told. It's going to talk about identifying your target market and how to do it effectively. If you haven't done that yet, then you shouldn't bother building an email list. So you can see this is a very powerful strategy for coming up with interesting and contrarian ways to look at things. If you fill your product with ideas like this, then you are simply going to captivate people and keep them interested in what you have to say. One caveat: don't be polarizing just to be polarizing. Make sure you actually believe in the things you are saying. That's all for this lesson. Keep watching and I'll tell you another one. Until then, be sure to give this a try. Outline a new product. Use AI to come with some basic modules and chapters, and then try turning them on their head with this concept. If you would have been a tourist of London in the late 60s, riding the railway, you might have heard them telling you to mind the gap. They were telling you to watch your step while boarding or exiting the train. Didn't want to fall in that gap and trip. However, there is another kind of gap online. It's the gap that no one appears to be filling when it comes to a certain problem in that market. And most of us know about this idea. But how do you find these gaps? Sometimes it can start to feel like everything has been done before and there are no original ideas left. It's like everything is oversaturated. It can be frustrating. However, sometimes the problem is trying to look directly at something, whereas if you only tried to observe it in your peripheral vision, you would be able to see it clearly. I know, I'm speaking in riddles. Let me explain. When you look around your market, not as a vendor or a marketer, but as a customer, because most of us are customers as well, what kinds of things irritate you? What kind of things make you mad? What kinds of annoyances do you see popping up over and over that really tick you off? Because if you start identifying those things, then 9 times out of 10 you're staring right at some kind of gap in your market. For example, in the internet marketing space, one thing that really drives me crazy is overly complex login processes. It's like you buy training, and instead of getting immediate access, you are met with a message telling you to check your email for login details, and then the email never comes. And then maybe it does come after like a half an hour, and 10 for some reason the login password doesn't work, so now you are emailing customer support 24 hours later and you still haven't seen what you purchased. This can really kill momentum for people, and it's super annoying, but it happens all the time. But for that idea of complex login process is an actual pain point for people. It's something you could easily lean into and rail against. Come up with a drop dead simple delivery system for your products and then talk about it in your marketing. It could be a staple for your company. It could be a thing that makes yourself known for. You could literally make it a part of your narrative. But it all started as being angry about something that happens in your niche and identifying that as a simple gap that can be an opportunity. Another good example of this would be Noom. Noom is a subscription based app that allows users to track their food intake and exercise habits. But the thing about them is they focus on promoting behavior change and mental well being. I don't know a lot of other programs like that in the world of weight loss. They probably looked around at all the people who were trying all these diets and exercise programs, yet continued to fail, and thought, why do they continue to fail year after year? What about the mental aspect? Nobody ever talks about that too much. Maybe it's in their head, so they focused on that with their app. It's a pretty neat way to approach it. Another example would be HelloFresh. They are a company that sends you ready-made meal kits that make it easy to control your portions. But with them, they were looking around the market and thinking, you know what is really hard for people? It's hard to eat portion-controlled meals because all the crappy meal prep. If only they didn't have to prepare all these meals in advance, they would be able to succeed with portion control. But it started with just complaining about something as a customer. Anyways, take a look around your market as a customer and write down some things that irritate you, make you mad, drive you crazy, etc. And instead of looking at them like annoyances, start looking at them like possible opportunities as gaps in your market. That's it for now for this lesson. Keep watching and you'll see another idea generator. So over the course of this movie, we've talked about ways to come up with interesting and profitable ideas for digital products. What I'd like to do today is keep that momentum going with another outside the box approach for coming up with some interesting ideas for digital paid content. I call this one the dream scenario concept, and the way this works is very simple. When you look at your market with the eyes of your customer, what do you think the perfect product would do for you? I mean the product that absolutely changed your life. What does it look like? Leave nothing off the table. Experience isn't an issue. Money isn't an issue. Time isn't an issue. You have unlimited amounts of all three of those things in this simple thought experiment. Unlimited experience in all things, unlimited time, and unlimited money. What would that product look like? What would it solve? How would it change your ideal customer's life? Now that you have the idea of that product, let's get a little more specific. What are the things that the product actually does to solve those problems? How does it do it? What does it teach? How long does it take to go through this perfect product as a customer? Now, if you struggle with this exercise, there is a very good chance you need to learn your market better. Figure out who they are and what they desire, what they need and what their goals are. You really need to understand your market if you want to be successful selling digital products. However, once you have this perfect dream product mapped out, I want to ask you a question. What part of this product is possible for you? And the parts that are not possible, ask yourself why they are not possible. Scale that dream product back to something that you could reasonably put together. And I want you to understand something. There's always a workaround. Not experienced enough, do interviews with experts for that content. Not enough time, time block and make that time. Not enough money, get the costs on the product down. Understand you can do most things online for free, especially when you are first getting started. You have to understand that a perfect product does not exist. The idea of perfection is subjective. To make your dream product that supposedly will change someone's life, and someone somewhere will say, "This is too much training. I got overwhelmed." At the same time, someone else will say, "I already knew half that stuff." So it's not about pleasing everyone. And ultimately, it's not really about this hypothetical dream product either. This is a simple thought experiment to get you focused and thinking about some great ideas and concepts for products. The goal with products is always two things. One, solve a problem that helps move your target market forward in their goals. Two, have a unique angle on it. Don't just regurgitate something. Don't start another taxi service, be the Uber of taxi services. Anyways, that's the dream scenario concept, and I hope it serves you well. Keep watching for another strategy coming up with ideas for digital products. Let's talk about the simulated data from avatar strategy. So the way this works is very simple. Step 1, create a customer avatar. If you don't know how to do that, look it up. That's beyond the scope of this movie. However, it's a critical skill, so if that's something you'd like me to talk about in future movies, be sure to reach out to me and let me know. Step 2, pick your favorite LLM, large language model AI, and tell it you are going to give it some customer avatar data on a particular market. Then proceed to give it the data. Just cut and paste the information into the LLM. Step 3, tell the LLM that you want it to roleplay as this particular customer avatar. Then proceed to interview the newly simulated customer avatar. You can ask it questions like what it thinks the perfect product would have in it, or what kinds of problems it needs solved, or even what would be the best analogy to use on it, movie analogy or book analogy. You can ask it all kinds of questions regarding your customer avatar. It's like you can talk to your ideal customer and ask them whatever you like. Now keep in mind, this is an example of simulated data. Everything that the AI tells you, of course, cannot be taken for fact. It's going to be a simulation of what your ideal customer might say. And when it gives you a certain piece of information, you can then reply with what information from the customer avatar data made you reply in that way. So in this way, you can get more insight on why the LLM replied that way. This is very effective strategy for uncovering potential new product ideas. LLMs are actually suited very well to this task because they are essentially prediction models. They are predicting how to best answer your questions. When you give the LLM a particular data set to work from, like customer avatar data, they are pretty good at predicting how to roleplay that avatar. And sadly, that's all I have for this lesson. Be sure to give this a try. Having the ability to actually create a simulation of your customer avatar is honestly, it's crazy. And something that was unheard of just a few short years ago. Take advantage of this new technology and use it to your advantage. Keep watching because next I have a very important question for you. I actually was going to ask this now, but this lesson was getting too long. So keep watching. So over the course of this movie, we have been talking a lot about how to come up with interesting and profitable ideas for digital products. And it's all well and good for me to give you interesting and unique strategies to use. But it's another thing entirely to actually take action on them and use them. To actually take an idea, turn it into a product, launch it, and make some money with it. That's a process that requires more than just watching a movie and thinking about it. And let me be honest with you here. I know that many of you watching this movie are not brand new to this online world of business. Many of you have been here for years, trying, reaching, failing, and trying again. And I have a question for you. And this might make you mad. And I don't know. It might. But I'm going to ask anyway because I think you answering it might just be the first step to getting to where you actually want to go with your online business. So here's the question. When it comes to achieving your goals online, why do you think you aren't there yet? That's the question. And I really want to hear back from you on this, so make sure to reply back to this email and let me know. Your answers are going to shape my future content, rest assured. So by replying to this movie and answering that simple question won't just be helping me, it'll be helping you as well. Looking forward to hearing from you. And keep watching because next there's going to be more strategies for profitable idea generating. You might be familiar with Dyson vacuum cleaners. They are on the expensive side of vacuums, but very well known to be of high quality. What you might not realize is that back in 1978, when the creator of those vacuum cleaners, James Dyson, decided he wanted to make a better vacuum cleaner, he spent over 15 years developing his product. Not only that, but he failed over 5,000 times. 5,127 different prototypes to be exact. Not only that, but he couldn't receive any funding for what he was doing. He was spending his own money to create all those prototypes. Dyson once wrote back in 2011 that by 2627, my wife and I were really counting our pennies. By prototype 3727, my wife was giving art lessons for some extra cash. Tough times. He didn't give up though, and eventually his persistence paid off. His vacuums became a household name in time. However, I want to focus on some of the constraints he faced because in those constraints lies the big takeaway for today. 1. Limited resources. Dyson's initial constraint was not having access to expensive research facilities or cutting edge technology. This forced him to be resourceful and experiment with readily available materials, leading to his 5,127 prototypes. 2. Focus on core function. Dyson couldn't afford bells and whistles, so he had to focus on core problems, a vacuum that maintains suction. This laser focus probably helped him arrive at the innovative cyclonic separation technology that differentiates his vacuum cleaners. 3. Overcoming rejection. Dyson's inability to license his idea to established companies once he already went through 5,000 prototypes to finally get something that worked, a big constraint, forced him to become self-reliant and bring his own product to market. The fact of the matter is, James Dyson had 3 major constraints in front of him, keeping him from achieving his goals. He didn't place them there, but there they were nonetheless. Now, that's all fine, but how can it help you come up with ideas for profitable digital products? Well, it's very simple. Embracing constraints can often amplify your creativity, allowing you to come up with ideas and solutions that you otherwise might not have considered. Instead of trying to come up with a great idea for a product, why don't you try limiting yourself to one day only to come up with an idea? Or why don't you try operating within certain rule set? Let's say instead of just coming up with an idea for a digital product, you put the rules in place that you must make it about a particular subject, must be easily consumable, no more than 25-page report. 3. Must produce results for customers within 1 day of reading. These are artificial constraints. However, by putting simple constraints like that in place for yourself, you can actually boost your creativity to create something. Reducing options can be a powerful way to spark creativity and come up with new ideas. There are examples of this kind of constrained improvisation all over the place if you look. For example, there is an entire genre of films called no-budget films that are created within the limitations of spending no money. That's a pretty tough challenge when you're creating a movie, but they do it, and you would be surprised at some of the things they come up with. Doing a quick Google search for no-budget films will yield some very interesting results. Give it a try. But all that being said, finding a way to create limits or constraints on what you are allowed to do when it comes to creating your products or generating an idea can again really amplify your creativity. So give this a shot. And keep watching, because next there's going to be another banger of a strategy for generating profitable ideas for your digital products. If there is one thing that never ceases to amaze me, it's that ideas will come to you at the weirdest times. You could be out walking your dog and all of a sudden you'll have an idea for a new product. You'll be shopping for groceries and bam, an idea for a new piece of content pops into your head. It happens on vacation, driving through the park, on your way home from visiting relatives. It happens. What I realized was that I was actually coming up with ideas way more often than I actually thought. The only thing was those ideas happen on their own time, not necessarily when I am sitting down at my computer. In fact, when you're actually trying to come up with an idea, think about it. How much time does that actually represent? Probably not a lot. But the thing is, your brain is basically an idea fountain. It's always coming up with new ones. You just have to train yourself to listen. So how do you do that? It's actually very easy. Today, most people have a cell phone or smartphone on them pretty much at all times. That phone has a simple recorder that allows you to record your audio whenever you like. Whenever you have an idea, no matter how weird or crazy, just pull out your cell phone and record your thoughts. The ideas that you have throughout the day while you're doing other things have an ephemeral quality to them. They are fragile. They disappear within seconds sometimes of you actually having them. You will forget. Each one of them could be $1 million idea, so losing them is actually costing you money. So record them. Get into the habit of doing it regularly. Then the best part is you can pretty easily have your audio transcribed using the numerous free audio transcription softwares available online now, and have that simple idea file sitting in a folder on your computer to look through whenever you need inspiration. Remember, even seemingly dumb ideas are worth writing down. You never know when you could spark the next $1 million baby, so to speak. That's it for this lesson. Keep watching, and you'll see another strategy for coming up with digital product ideas. Until then, be sure to give this method a try. In the last lesson, we were talking about recording your ideas throughout the day as they come to you, no matter how weird they might be. It's a great habit to get into, and a fantastic way to come up with new and interesting ideas. Now I want to expand on that a little bit. And the reason why is that many of those ideas you come up with randomly might not be perfect. Heck, they probably won't even be good most times. But today I want you to start thinking about actually embracing those imperfect ideas as a means to an end. Let me give you an example. I had a friend who had an idea to write a book a while ago. He put a lot of energy and effort into that book, and he got it into his head that when it was done, it was going to make him rich. When he finally finished it, though, he published it. I bet you can guess what happened. Not much. He got a few sales here and a few sales there, but it was definitely anticlimactic. Not at all the vision he had in mind for what would happen. My friend could have given up, but he didn't. He embraced the fact that his idea was not perfect. He created a YouTube channel to promote his book, and a few more sales came in. So he adapted it a little bit, the plan, I mean. But he didn't stop there. He decided he would turn the book into a membership club instead. Each chapter would get a video and be turned into a module, and he could commit to publishing 5 to 8 pieces of fresh content every month within. And that worked. However, he would have never gotten there if he hadn't given up on his original imperfect idea of just publishing a book. By taking a less than perfect idea and adjusting it, he achieved great success eventually. The matter of the fact is, many success stories that you know and love have been born from adapting imperfect ideas and plans. Just consider, the microwave was invented by Percy Spencer while working on radar technology during World War II. Post-it notes were invented by Art Fry, who borrowed an adhesive from another 3M scientist, Dr. Spencer Silva, who had invented a weak adhesive years earlier, but could find no use for it and considered it a failure. Fidget spinners were first invented in the 1990s as a focusing tool to help people overcome anxiety and nervousness, and they absolutely flopped. Nobody cared about them. Fast forward to 2016 and they became a worldwide phenomenon. Why? They changed their design and marketing strategy. All three of the above examples are ideas that started out as weird, less than perfect, or maybe even stupid to some people, but they were adapted and changed to become something far greater. So don't be so quick to discover any of your ideas, even to discount any of your ideas, even the stupid ones, because you never know when the next big break that comes along is going to be yours. Keep watching for another strategy on idea generation. Over the course of this movie, we've been talking about unique ways to come up with profitable ideas for digital products. And today I have another for you that boils down to a very simple concept, like all great ideas. Challenge all assumptions that aren't facts. Ask why something is believed to be true. Ask how things are currently being done and why. You know, Netflix is a company that has challenged assumptions again and again throughout its lifespan as a company. One example that comes to mind is when they challenged the assumption that only big movie studios and TV networks could create the content they were going to stream on their platform. While it's true that traditionally movie studios and TV networks had controlled access to popular content, and streaming services like Netflix were simply seen as platforms for renting or buying existing movies and shows, it wasn't the first time Netflix had challenged the status quo. They had done it before when they invented their own streaming technology for movies and television, thereby revolutionizing the way people consume content. And they did it again in 2013 when they released their first ever exclusive television series, House of Cards. That show was a critical and commercial success, attracting new subscribers and garnering awards and recognition. Since then, you see other streaming services following suit and releasing regular exclusive content on their platforms. But none of it could have happened without Netflix originally challenging the status quo by changing the way things were supposedly done. They challenged assumptions. You can do the same thing in your business, and when you are trying to come up with new ideas for digital products, it's a good thing to poke your nose around at the way everyone is doing things. Ask yourself if that is the best way to do these things, or is it possible there might be an alternative better way to go about it. You'd be surprised at how many new products were created, how many new ideas were thought up using this one very tactic alone. Simple strategy, very powerful when implemented. And sadly, that's all for this lesson. Keep watching, and there's going to be one more lesson to wrap up this movie on digital product idea generation. It's a very important one, so make sure you keep watching. And keep your head up and your mind right. Stay frosty. Over the course of this movie, we've talked a lot about how to come up with interesting and unique ideas for digital products. Everything from tricking AI into actually being interesting to improvisational constraint. Yikes. But you know what? Although we've talked about some pretty cool ideas, and I've had a lot of fun sharing them with you, the sad truth of the matter is none of it really means a thing until you make it mean something. Ideas are the cheapest thing on the planet. If you practice that little recording trick I told you about, you'll realize that you are coming up with them all the time. They are cheap. But you know what's not cheap? Implementing them. Actually being brave enough, resilient enough, stubborn enough, and cunning enough to actually do something with your ideas. In that relentless imperfect action lies the secret to your success. Consider that Harlan Sanders, Colonel Sanders, the iconic face of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, didn't achieve major success until the age of 65. He franchised his KFC concept at 66 and turned into a global fast food empire. Julia Child, the celebrity chef, didn't publish her first cookbook and begin her culinary career until she was 50 years old. Samuel L. Jackson, one of the most famous actors on the planet, had his breakthrough performance in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction at the age of 46, which launched him into superstardom. But the point is, none of them gave up. They relentlessly took imperfect action, and their resilience and determination paid off for them in the end. You are no different. So embrace these ideas I've presented to you over the course of this movie. But more importantly, embrace the idea of taking relentless, imperfect action. That's all I have on this subject for now. Good luck out there. By the way, what would you like me to make movies about next? Let me know.